My name is Dr. Jazz. I'm actually a scientist slash engineer. So what do I know about art? Probably nothing. I'm just here to share my passion and my ability to plan with you all. I have a load of words, which I'm not going to be able to read now. Words that I would associate or think of in my head when I'm planning an art project. We've got light, so where is the light coming from in your picture? What does it highlight? We've got frames, so is there anything that you've framed, or is there something that you want to make stand out? I've got soft and hard, so that would be either the subject itself or the textures you want to show. Composition, so like a piece of music, we want everything in our painting or final piece to all fit together and all have a meaning and to all look good together, so all complement each other. On top of the complementing part of it, we've got complementary colours, so I've written complementary colours in orange and blue, and that's because those two are complementary colours. And then right at the top left hand corner is purpose, so that's the bit where we have to do a little bit more of a wordy explanation for why we're trying to make a certain final piece. I've got a couple of paintings here. Van Gogh's Starry Night, so you might know that one. I can't spell. It's Salvador Dali. I usually just call it Melting Clocks, which is what everyone knows. Exo Duskings is saying he's got some cool facts about Van Gogh, saying his behaviour was erratic at the time. In fact, one time I think he ran out of his chrome yellow, or I think it was ochre yellow paint, which was his favourite paint, and he just smashed up his brother's house completely. Can you give me some differences between these two paintings? Okay, so we've got precision of memory is way more vivid and Starry Night is more abstract. And we've got, well, they're both abstract, really. This is surrealism, okay? So they're kind of similar. So surrealism is when we paint something realistically. So these clocks look very real. Everything's very smooth lines, and it's supposed to be like a realistic painting, but the content or the subject itself is surreal. Then we've got Van Gogh, and that's impressionist. So that's painting a scene in a non-realistic way. So what about the colours that they've both used? So we've got very blue here. We can see that they've both got similar colours in the sky. And do you remember what we said earlier about complementary colours? Colours that are opposite each other in the colour wheel. Right, so orange and blue. We've got yellow, orange and dark blue, and then like yellow and this violet-y colour. How would I go about painting Salvador Dali in the style of Van Gogh? What could I do to do that? Brushstrokes would be different, yeah. So we can see that they've probably both used oil paints here, but Dali's used really, really soft brushstrokes, whereas Van Gogh's we can actually see. Jack, followed by a long number on the chat, is saying maybe hint at the shapes instead of making them so realistic. So that's a really good way we could get the rough shape. I actually had a go at doing this, and I chose to do it in oil pastels instead of oil paints, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But can you see that I've tried to get the sky to look a bit like Van Gogh's Starry Night? And I've sort of got the melting clocks, which I didn't finish off. And I've just tried to add in all of the textures that Van Gogh had used. So it's just a bit of experimenting and seeing if I could cross over the styles a bit. So a study page is literally just picking something and doing as much research on it as possible. And this is the really, really crux of getting really good marks in art, or just showing and justifying your final piece, showing that you've really, really thought about it. So bonus points if anyone can tell me what this bottom one is a study of. Pop art. Yeah, cool. So we've got some pop art. And what the student has done is they have a photo of a piece here. So that's a famous pop art piece. And then they've done a drawing of an eye. So that's like an observation, a sketch of an eye. And then on the other side of the page, they've done an in-depth study of an eye in pop art. And then they've had a go at drawing the eye in that style themselves. Then they've got a self-portrait of themselves in a pop art style. And then this one is a study of Matisse. So that we've got Henri Matisse written here. It's a combination of having a lot of the colours and sort of textures of watercolours that Henri would do on the page as a kind of backdrop to show that you're thinking about the media that he used and the textures he used, as well as doing studies of each of his paintings. So that's a self-portrait. So having a go at doing things in a style. Following on with that idea exploration, we've got another pop-up piece here. We have exploring further media they've written, and we have lots and lots of text, block text, the history of pop art and where it comes from, then how to apply that to the ideas they want to explore. So it's kind of like writing an essay. Then we can do some media experimenting. So look at this. They've just used Biro to do all of these sketches. So a whole page dedicated to Biro. And then probably the most important thing to do is to just keep sketching. I've got a little example here. There's a page where they've got one half of their sketchbook has got loads of pictures of pumpkins. The other half has got lots of sketches of pumpkins. And a really cool thing to do is to just draw frames on your page and to draw inside of the frame. So you get this really nice kind of like stuck on photo effect to show that you've been sketching. You just want to develop ideas and you don't have to finish a sketch. So here's a really rubbish one I did a while ago when we were looking at nature paintings, and I've got a bit of a drawing of an eagle in the background and then this parrot looking really cheeky. Look at him, he's like staring into your soul, and then a little baboon face, and then I can't even tell what that is. That's terrible, isn't it? It didn't photograph very well, so it doesn't matter if it's bad at this point, because this is your idea exploration page, and you really want all of your sketchbook to just be thick and as many pages as possible of experimenting and all of that. This is a famous piece by Picasso. So the theme here is like war, suffering. We've got animals looking very distressed. Picasso usually uses really bright colours and paints quite positive pictures, but because this is such a negative picture, we can see that it's, I'm going to say, monochrome. So it's only like black and white just to get the point across. So this is how we're changing our usual style and choice of colours and things like that to match the theme. Can someone tell me what charcoal? Oh, I just told you. Oh, sorry. So this is an artist called April Capini. I want to zoom in on this lovely bee because look how soft it is. When you think of a bumblebee, you think of something being really fuzzy and soft and lovely. And what April has done is taken a choice of media, so the thing that they want to do the drawing with, and has used that to really get the like softness of the bee across. And I will also add that in this one, look at the use of colour and the use of like smudging to get movement. So this is a really great thing to think about when you're planning your project. It's just matching your media to your subject. What makes a painting or an art piece a good painting? Okay, use of colours. Yep, so we saw those complementary colours earlier, so making sure you're not just doing colour vomit all over the page. The textures, if it's balance, so balance could be both a combination of like light and dark. Jack says light. Yep, lighting is a really good thing to think about. So I wanted to talk a bit about this thing called the rule of thirds. When we look at art, we need to think about where our eye is drawn. So Jack says light. So light is very important. We're getting reflected light from the water, aren't we? And then light from the sky as well. So kind of coming down and coming down along. This slope kind of acts like an arrow, doesn't it? It kind of points to something. And then we've got this house in the background. And a thing that's really commonly done in art is trying to like break up the picture into thirds, and that kind of gives us some grounding, right? we can see that our eye is naturally drawn over here. And it's made accentuated by this like line going up to it, and then we've got this little house here. So this has made the house the kind of object. It would be kind of boring if everything was really flat and level. So we can see that this still life as well, we could maybe think of separating it into thirds again. So we've got the first object, which is that ball there, and we've got the violin, and then we've got the skull. And then we sort of have the top of the violin there, and the skull and the ball all fit in. And then we've got the table in the foreground. We tend to read left to right. So we kind of like to look at a picture left to right. So if you want to really make a statement and sort of draw your eye to something, you want to understand the way that we look at a picture. I've got a picture by Thomas Cole. So he's a Western artist. Can you see that our eye is sort of drawn to the right hand corner? Can you see that we've got all this left hand stuff, which is really like dark and ominous, like a storm, and then we're just automatically looking out to the horizon over here. Feels anchored, yeah, to the left hand corner. Yeah, you feel like you want to escape. You can see the trees like slanting in a way away from the really nice stuff. Now, if we look at this painting, this is by a Japanese artist in the 1800s called Hokusai. He's done a similar thing, but your eye is sort of drawn to the left-hand side, maybe because the reading, like right to left, has changed the way that Japanese artists naturally look in the corner. So it's really important to sort of think about who your audience is, where you want them to be looking, and the kind of mood that you want to capture. So I've got my plan here. So some things I want us to think about, and this could be a general plan for anything, I suppose. So do you remember for our subject, we saw some study pages. We did some observations, an artist study page, so we can look at artists. And then we can develop our skills. Genre, yeah, that's another one. So genre, awesome. What do I mean by intention? Yeah, so we want to explore themes. We want to explore emotions. What you want to create. Exactly. Intention is purpose. Awesome. Cool. So if intention is what I want to create, what is materials then? Media. Yeah. So I can say, what am I going to use? And then another one is, does it match my purpose? So say if I wanted to do a really, really serene, peaceful painting of a nice seascape, I'm not going to use really scratchy biro and ink and throw loads of paint on the page and add loads of textures and sharp lines and ripping and stuff. I'm probably going to just use watercolors and make it look really peaceful and serene. So that kind of ties in with our method. We had our composition. Where does your eye go? Method. We can have rule of thirds. Awesome. So that's composition. So thirds. And we can have slopes to make things feel uneasy. Other methods. We had light. Jack said, I remember. Light is another thing. Do you remember we saw the picture of the bee and there was that smudge going down? So we could have movement, colour, and then time. So we want to actually spend more time sketching than doing your final piece, right? Because you want to develop so many ideas that when you do your final piece, it won't be a cakewalk, but you'll be able to get on with it so much quicker. The thing I really want you to take away is this stuff here. You would really want your sketchbook to be absolutely filled, and don't be afraid to experiment. That would be my go away thing. Don't be afraid to experiment. Read up as much on art theory and write little essay notes and things. You don't have to write an essay. It doesn't even have to be good at English. You can just add it in on the side and really, really experiment.